Hi, I'm Michael Cartellone, the drummer from Lynyrd Skynyrd, and you are watching LifeMinute TV. I began painting when I was 4, and I began drumming when I was 9. The kindergarten teacher had suggested to my parents that they might want to encourage the painting that I had taken to. So the summer in between kindergarten and first grade, my parents enrolled me in a course at the Cleveland Institute of Art in Cleveland, Ohio, which is where I'm from. And I spent that summer learning all of the, or I should say being taught all of the main techniques in fine art, which I'm sure went over my head as a 4-year-old, but maybe they've stuck in there at some point. So the painting began a lifelong journey, which has never wavered. The drumming at age 9 very quickly went to the forefront, but I never stopped painting. And consequently, the two have coexisted my entire life as a perfect two halves of a whole. I am doing my first ever appearance in the Asheville, North Carolina area. And they have a really great arts district called the River Arts District, which is a really cool community. Dozens and dozens of galleries, hundreds and hundreds of artists. I became friends with a man named Philip D'Angelo, who owns his own gallery in the River Arts District. And Phil is a very talented and very successful painter. I literally just called him out of the blue and introduced myself. And it turns out that we both have a shared Sicilian ancestry. And we realized, well, this is the perfect foundation to build upon to do a joint art show. It will be basically Phil and I reflecting our shared history as this wonderful scenic Italian and Sicilian vantage point. And some of the paintings that are going to be in the Bella Italia show are taken directly from my life experiences traveling around Sicily. There literally is a painting called Bronta. That is the town that my family's from. My visual influence artist list is lengthy. I was able to zero it down at one point with creating something I call the 4 Davids, and one of them is right there. So Michelangelo, of course, is one of my favorite artists. Nancy, my wife, and I went to Florence on our honeymoon. We saw the David, which is just awe-inspiring to see. And I came home wanting to do a painting in tribute, and it turned into painting him 4 different times in 4 different styles representing 100 years of art history. They really are a double homage. Michelangelo, and then to Van Gogh, Picasso, Roy Lichtenstein, and Andy Warhol. The 4 Davids are paintings I'm very proud of, and all 4 will be represented at the Asheville Art Show. There is a list of fine artists that I'm inspired by. I love Magritte, Seurat, M.C. Escher, Caravaggio. I've studied all of the above, and I think at any given time, some of that inspiration comes out into whatever the next painting might be. The musical influences, not surprisingly, the Beatles are my favorite band. Ringo is my favorite drummer, amongst other favorite drummers, which is a nice segue to the painting here. This painting is called Ringo, and it is Ringo's vantage point in January 1969, when the Beatles were on the rooftop and did their last ever live public performance. And I had this idea for many, many years. Being a drummer as a career, I see this vantage point a lot. And one night I was just in the middle of a Lynyrd Skynyrd show, and I thought to myself, I wonder what Ringo saw. You know, I know what I see. And it just kind of cemented the idea. So I spent a full year working on this Ringo painting. The original painting, by the way, is 5 feet across. This is a reproduction. I researched everything from the battered drum heads to the tarnished cymbals to the clothing that the other 3 Beatles were wearing, the brick and mortar pattern on the building across the street. I left nothing to chance on this one, and I'm very, Very proud of the Ringo painting. It will be in the Asheville Art Show. I should also mention I'm a huge lifelong David Bowie fan. I have an affinity for all things British, I think. Charlie Chaplin is a hero of mine as well. I think musically and artistically, I'm the sum of all the parts that I grew up being influenced by. Musically, growing up in Cleveland was a wonderful place to learn my craft because there's a very healthy music scene. It is the rock and roll capital of the world, hence the museum right there. And I had, by the time I was 22, I felt like I had to do everything that I could do staying at home. So I decided to move to New York City and become a very small fish in a very big pond. And at the time, I started working with a renowned British musician named Eddie Jobson. And Eddie is a British progressive rocker who was in the band UK. And Eddie and I worked together for a few years on a recording project. That segued into my landing a tour playing in the solo band for Tommy Shaw, who was from the band Styx. And Tommy Shaw band worked for about 2 years, and that segued right into Tommy and myself, Ted Nugent and Jack Blades forming Damn Yankees. And Damn Yankees was formed right here in New York City on the Upper West Side. Not a lot of people know that. Damn Yankees was an incredible experience. It was truly the springboard for my musical career. It was a multi-platinum selling band, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful time, and I could not be more proud of what we did. Interestingly, during the course of Damn Yankees, we shared the stage a few times with Lynyrd Skynyrd, which isn't unusual that you would run into other bands or be on the same bill now and then. So I knew the guys in Lynyrd Skynyrd for many years socially. And it turned out that in 1998, they were recording an album. The man that was producing the album is named Ron Nevison. Ron had produced both Damn Yankee records. So Ron hired me to play percussion on that Skynyrd album, which was called Edge of Forever. So this was 1998. I played percussion on the record. They asked me to join the band, and I've been there happily ever since. Yeah, it truly is in between the art and music. I like to say on any given day, I'm a drummer who's painting or a painter who's drumming. But Skynyrd already has had a very busy 2024. We toured all of March and all of April as a double bill with ZZ Top, which was a wonderful tour. It did great business. We had so much fun. And those two bands have worked together before in the past, so we're all old friends. We are doing the next leg of the tour starting in the summer. And it'll be a very busy year in between all the drumming and all of the painting. There is one other painting behind me, which I would like to explain. It is what I call the Pixelism series. So I did a whole batch of these. I think there's 20 of them now. Paintings where I've pixelated the image. Some of the paintings I've made the blocks larger and harder to see what it is. Some of them I've made smaller blocks, which then makes a tighter focus. The camera does help smooth out the squares a little bit, so the people that are seeing this might be able to clearly see what that is. However, in person, it is definitely trickier to figure out what that is. I will tell everyone that this is a pixelated Mickey Mouse. If you can't figure it out. These have been very fun. They have been very popular with the art collectors. And one very fun tidbit about these paintings is if you look at them through your phone camera, it smooths them out completely and the blocks just go away and then you can clearly see the image. The band members of Lynyrd Skynyrd are very supportive of the art. For many years, I carried art supplies on tour, literally one of these little collapsible easels, a toolbox with paints and a canvas, in and out of hotel rooms, because we have a lot of downtime during a tour, so I paint in hotel rooms during the day. And quite often they come down to the room and watch the progress. I've also painted about my life as a musician. Specifically, I've painted more than one Lynyrd Skynyrd themed paintings. And there will be one in the show in Asheville, which is called 50. And it is the 7 original members that are on the band's first album, which is called Pronounced, that came out in 1973. If people are curious to see the body of work, all of my paintings are online at my art website, which is michaelcartellone.com.
To hear more of this interview, visit our podcast, LifeMinute TV, on iTunes and all streaming podcast platforms.